Welcome to We Don't Color on the Dog. We got with the Sheriff Chip Simmons. Chip, thank you for coming on.
How are you doing, Rick?
Doing great. We've just ended the fair. Give us a report on how the fair went this year from y'all's point of view.
Well, this is the kind of report that you love to give, right? Normally, we would talk about an event and say we've only had to arrest so many people, but I can tell you that 9 days, supposed to be 10 days, but I think weather took the 10th day. So for 9 days, with what I looked to be really good crowds, we didn't have to make a single arrest. Now, that is, I don't know if anyone can remember a time where we've had the fair go that well. So that many, thousands and thousands of people that went there. Now we had some people that get angry. We had to de-escalate some things. We had some arguments, but we were able to, go your own way, kick a couple people out of the fair. But again, we're talking about a lot of people, several days, and not a single arrest. So I'll take that any day.
Do you think? I mean, we talked last time. We talked. That you were stepping up the monitoring. To be able to
Mhm.
watch what was happening. Do you think that was a big factor this time?
I do think that it was a factor. I think that because we put the information out and our cameras are right there next to the entrance. So
Mhm.
even if you forget about it, even if you forget about what I say or what you say, that there are, you're sitting there and you're waiting in line, and you're looking around, you see all these cameras, you see all the deputies in uniform, and you think, you know what, this might not be the place. Now, again, too many times people forget about that. Yeah, people do things crazy underneath cameras or within camera shot anyway. But I think in this particular case, it worked out very well. And it's probably because of the teamwork, probably because of the fact that the people decide that this is a place for family fun and not for foolishness.
Good, good. Over the weekend, we had another story of a shooting involving teenagers. We won't need to go into the specifics of it, but it really, you and I have talked a little bit off camera that it was a gun safety issue.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we tell people all the time, never point a weapon at someone. Never point a loaded or an unloaded weapon at someone unless you're defending yourself, unless a weapon's pointed at you. But over the weekend we had another tragic event where which was termed as an accidental shooting. It had two people that knew each other, both 16. One of the 16-year-olds had stolen basically a firearm they weren't supposed to have, didn't have permission to have, but they were only thing I can say is they were toying around with this gun and then joking around, pointed at me and then pulled the trigger because they thought because they had removed the magazine from the weapon
Mhm.
that because they had been shooting it earlier, but they removed the magazine, then pointed it, and they, according to witnesses and according to both the suspect and the victim, they were toying around with the fact that you can pull the trigger because it's unloaded. And when the trigger was pulled, it was not unloaded, caused some serious injuries to one of the males. I'm not sure of their condition at this point. And again, the thought there is that A, do not ever point a weapon at somebody, and B, you just because you remove a magazine doesn't mean there's not one left in the chamber. And too many times, not just over the weekend, but too many times individuals are hurt or killed because of that one mistake. And again, I just want to remind everyone: do not point a weapon at an individual. It's not for games. Weapons are not for games unless you're actually looking at targets and you're in some sort of a sport shooting event.
And we've talked about this before, that it also points to taking, for adults, parents to know where their guns are and to keep their guns safe. So many of the guns that different crimes over the years, and we've having covered this for so long, is that so many of the weapons that are used were stolen from someone, and the person may not even known they were taken out of their car, or they didn't lock the car or their home. They didn't put it in the safe inside their house. There's That's the other issue that comes to play in some of these accidental shootings.
Exactly. It's about access. Who has access? Who's going to be in your house? Do you have kids in your house? And a lot of times it happens when you have grandchildren because as you get older, your kids move out. There are people that I know that just put their gun on the counter, because there are no kids in the house. And then when they have grandkids in the house, they need to make sure that they remember, hey, we got more people in our house, so let's put these things up and secure them. In this particular case, the gun was in a glove compartment in a vehicle that the individual, the 16-year-old, did not have permission to use. So again, he was charged in this case. He wasn't charged with the shooting, but he was charged with stealing the weapon, and he was charged with having the weapon, and he's only 16. You got to be at least 18 to have the handgun.
Another story that hit last week: FDLE ran did one of their multi-agency sting operations going after pedophiles. It has been, we have a lot of stories along that line in this area. And I think, again, something you and I've talked about is that both Pensacola Police Department and Escambia County Sheriff's Office, as well in various Florida Attorney Generals over the year, really put a focus of watching what's happening on the internet and catching these people that prey on children in our area.
Well, early on when the internet became household,
Mm-hmm.
there was always that concern that, oh, what are they going to sell and buy drugs through the internet? Are they going to, victimize children or have access to children? And all of that has come to fruition, right?
Right.
And to your point, we have always had these task forces or these collaborations with our federal authorities on what we'll call ICAC, Internet Crimes Against Children, which is child porn, trying to access child porn. The ones that you were just talking about, the partnerships that we had there are these ones that try to entice a child. By child, I mean anywhere from preteens to teenagers, to
Right.
meet them at a certain location for no good reason. Now, they may say they were just trying to befriend them or counsel them or all this nonsense, but in these cases we're talking about, they were pretty detailed about what their expectations were. And in some cases, they were spreading, some an internet type of some porn material, or asking them to exchange, photographs of themselves and that sort of thing. That's typically what we see. And in that particular case, again, we arrested, I think, 9, and some of them, not all of them lived here in Escambia County. Some of them drove from nearby, from Alabama, from, I want to say, Mississippi, and that has been consistent throughout the years. Ever since I was the police chief, you would find people, I think we call them travelers, that they're willing to leave their jurisdiction, maybe because no one knows them, because of their
Mm-hmm.
occupation, it would be problematic. And you saw that here too. I think there was a bus driver, or assistant bus driver, a helper, and an individual that another individual that worked at a school as well. So these people, they travel, and then they try to meet up with these underage individuals, and it's one of the more, um, you know, I guess the best thing that we do is protect our children.
Well, and it's just the amount of energy that local law enforcement puts into it. I mean, I think
Mhm.
that has always stood out, and just the officers that are involved in that, the stress it puts on them. We know they have to kind of be rotated in and out of that kind of job because it wears on them. The things that they see and have to stay on top of can be wearing on on those people too. And I've seen that also happen.
Absolutely. We have mandatory counseling for our investigators that are assigned to these particular their investigations, because there's something different in the mind of someone, that in the mindset of someone that would do this. And it's hard for you to comprehend as what I call a regular person, or an individual that doesn't have those thoughts or those ideations. And so we want to make sure that our deputies are okay. We want to make sure, when I was a police chief, that our officers were okay. Oftentimes we would rotate them or give them a break from that, because you don't want to see that, you don't want to hear from that, all the time. I think the one thing that's the one that kind of makes you feel good about these investigations, and there are times when our deputies are online, and many times in this particular investigations, and they're the ones talking. So the individual talking thinks that they're grooming or setting up
Mhm.
a teenager and trying to act, however it would be. They think that they're trying to be, to get them to meet them, but then they find out that who they have been talking to was a 40-year-old man, or
Right.
someone that certainly they would not have talked that way had they known it was a law enforcement individual. We feel good about the investigations. We want to make sure that they know, that we're out there. Hopefully, again, that it will act as a deterrent, so that you don't, to protect our children is probably the best thing that we do.
It's is in today's world with cell phones now, which even we were thinking about PCs, but now kids have it on their phone. So there are ways to reach them in so many different ways that parents may not even be able to be won't be aware of it or know, because there are always so many tricks that these people play. And the other thing you remind me of is what I tell reporters sometimes, is if we don't cover a lot of crime, but when we do, is to realize the criminals don't think like us. So
Right.
it may seem incredibly stupid or whatever, or what they're doing doesn't make sense, but they don't see it through the same eyes that you and I see things.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And there's also these apps where your conversations can be hidden or deleted and hidden from parents' view. So again, since we're on the topic, I do want to make sure that the parents understand that you can do some things. You can have some apps to monitor where your children are, what your children are doing, who they're talking to. And it also means not just the phones where just the normal communication, but it can also be these game apps, the Roblox of the world and these other apps. I think it was a big story about the Attorney General's office identifying Roblox as a potential platform where individuals can gain access to your children. And that's what they want. They want to have access, unfiltered access to your children. And sometimes it could take them days, sometimes weeks, and even months to, and I use the word groom, your child, because these children, you talked about these predators don't think like us. That is true. And what they try to do is they try to think like a preteen, so that they can gain that trust and gain that familiarity, and then it'll weaken or lessen their suspicion, and that's where things can go horribly wrong.
Well, I appreciate the amount of effort y'all put at it at Escambia County Sheriff's Office. PPD does it too, and I know this is one of these things where all the agencies work together, and we're seeing a huge difference. There's always the creeps out there, but this system is protecting our kids. So, Chip, thank you so much for coming on today.
Absolutely. Y'all take care.
Thanks for watching, and to keep up with what's going on, be sure and subscribe. Just click on the little dog to the right and click the subscribe button. You can also like this video and click on the bell, which will notify you of new content. This really helps the channel grow. We appreciate you.